Welcome, my friends, to the vault. A little backstory on my house. It was built around 1814 in an old French Quarter-inspired neighborhood that has been established since 1749. The model of my home is based on an old British Victorian-style brick home, which stands out among the French-inspired chateau-styled homes that line my historic street. With that being said, it has also been remodeled plenty of times over. When I first moved into the house, it needed a lot of work. It looked like it was stuck in the 1970s. So, I decided to invest in remodeling the home yet again, to bring my home into the millennium. That's when things started to happen. I'd lived peacefully in my home for 2 years without incident. I think the construction workers may have disturbed something within the walls of this old house during the renovations. I don't know exactly what they did, but whatever it was leads me to the very morning of my day off. It was supposed to go smoothly and without a hitch. Instead, horror ensued. The day started off harmless enough. I knew I would have the day off from work and I could relax and catch up on rest. I actually had time to make myself a great breakfast. I had planned on a day of snacking and staying in my PJs all day long. I worked very hard, so it was much deserved. After I stuffed my face and washed my dishes, I headed back to my bedroom and turned on the television. I was laughing along to the laugh track of one of my favorite shows when a whimpering sound rang out in the air. Mind you, I am single with no children and no pets, but this whimper sounded like the beginning of an infant's cry. I turned the television down to get a better listen, but heard nothing. I proceeded to carry on with my day. Soon after, I fell asleep. About an hour into my nap, I heard a loud cry. It was unmistakable this time. It was clearly an infant's cry. It startled me. I awoke with a racing heart and sat straight up in my bed. I didn't have the courage to walk down the hallway to see where the sound was coming from. All I know is that I have a 3-bedroom house. I'm in the master bedroom. The second room is akin to a walk-in closet setup, and the third room is an empty guest room. I heard it that one time and haven't heard it since. To this day, I still wonder who the baby is. Why was it crying? And what did it want? Creepy. This just happened today. Wait, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I am the young woman with the old British-style home with the crying ghost baby in it. I'm really nervous typing this story, so bear with me. It's been a very eventful day. I stayed home from work today, and good thing I did, because the electric company sent out a guy to rewire some electric things in my old house, because of the shortage caused on my street by the storm the night before. Although my lights didn't go out, they came to every house on my street as a precaution. Well, after an evaluation, it was brought to my attention that some minor rewiring had to be done. So, the electrician explained to me he would be running a wire through the attic to the office, or what would be considered the 3rd bedroom upstairs. I left the electrician to do whatever he had to do, and went into the kitchen to make lunch. While I was making my sandwich, I heard the man scream out in horror. I froze with fear because no one was there but the two of us. I then run over to the steps and yell to him if he's alright, but I don't get an answer. I then proceed to call the police, because there's no fucking way I was going upstairs to see what was happening to him by myself, especially since I've already experienced paranormal things in this house. The police came in about 10 minutes, and they went upstairs to find him crying like a child. They then called an ambulance because the man was so incoherent they didn't know what was going on. He just kept crying, like he was in some sort of trance, or like he was having some sort of breakdown. The police asked me what happened, and I told them I didn't know because I was too scared to go check. He was taken outside and put into the ambulance. I went back into my house, grabbed my keys, and bolted to my mom's house. There's no way in hell I'm sleeping there tonight. I don't know what he saw, and I don't care to find out. At this point, I only have two options: get my house cleansed, or move the fuck out. These are things that have happened to my family, on the land which I was raised and we still own. These accounts are 100% real, and coming from my mother and family. They would never make these up or embellish them for any reason. This land is about 5 acres in the country. We are outside of any city or neighborhood presence. I know my grandparents were some of the first to live in the area, and it's still a quiet place. I say that because I don't know if anything was here prior to them being there. I do know that my grandfather used to plow for gardens, and we would go behind him in the fresh turned soil and find Indian arrowheads all the time. So that is proof others were there before us. The road is forest and fields, no one within a mile of our immediate family. Besides our acreage, a few houses in the road. It was a double-wide trailer we lived in, and to the left of us was my mom's brother and his wife and child, and next to them was my grandparents' brick house. I will try to tell these in order of occurrence. Here are a few stories that have no explanation. My uncle was 18 or so, living in the brick house with his parents, my grandparents. He was a tough guy, always pretty brute. Around the age of 18, he saw a green glowing small man that would wave at him in the hallway. Nothing more came of it, other than scaring the heck out of him. But it was reoccurring. He saw it a few times, and now that the internet access is available, I see other accounts of similar glowing green men that have been seen. When my sister was young, about 11, she woke in the night to ask my mother for some medicine. As my mom was getting it, my sister lay on the sofa. The TV was off, and therefore a reflection of the room could be seen in the black TV. The way the place was laid out, she could see the kitchen. She saw what was the size of a man walking on all fours. Not on knees though, short hind legs. She turned to look behind her out of fear and saw nothing. Looked back into the TV and saw it approaching her. She screamed and sat up, looked in the kitchen, saw nothing again, yet to turn to the TV and see it crawling in the AC return that was under the table. This stuck with her for years, and she was often scared of this creature, but never saw it again. Again, now with internet available, these types of encounters are seen by others. There was no knowledge of anything of this nature prior to this sighting. My mother was doing some housework, cleaning in the kitchen. Through the window on the side door, she saw my aunt in her front yard washing her vehicle. They were supposed to be in Disneyland at this time, so my mom opened the door and asked why they were back so soon. My aunt said that something came up and they had to come back and tend to something. So my mom asked if they were going to my grandma's next door for dinner later, as we often did, and she said that she would be there and they would talk more. Later, at my grandmother's, my mother found out that they were in Disneyland, and they had been there all week and had not returned. My aunt was never there. My mom and sister would often see things in the trailer we lived in. Floating balloons my mom would wake to see. My sister would put things away in her closet, leave out of the room, and the things would be out of the closet when she came back. My grandmother would feel hands on her back, and sometimes slaps, and have hand impressions. My grandfather saw his long-dead father smiling and waving at him from inside the house as he was outside. Full body, clear apparition. When my mom and her husband bought a house closer into town, they left the double wide to me. I never saw anything. I just always felt heavy. Always a scared feeling. If I was going to be late, I would always leave lights on. When I slept, I'd always leave lights on and leave the TV on in my room. Always felt uneasy. This was all I ever knew. When I finally moved away, I moved into an apartment. The first night in the apartment, I slept with all lights off. No fear, no heavy feeling. That's when I knew it was something about that place. The two trailers and my grandmother's house all have weird, heavy feelings. Perhaps the land itself is haunted with something. My immediate family life was kind of turmoil when I was young, and maybe something was manifested through that time. I don't really know. The heaviness and dreadful feelings is all I have experienced, and it was constant. My grandfather and I have always been into ghost shows, but outside of that, none of them would have any reason to make this up. And the fear of these encounters was real and long-lived. In the year 2002, I was 15 when my grandfather had died. Now, I really didn't know my grandfather. I mean, I knew him, but I really didn't get to know him like I should have. That was a rough summer, because after that, my family was fighting in court with my grandfather's sister and her daughter. We fought in probate with them. After the probate court day was over, we won. We, as a family, decided to have an auction of my grandfather's estate. It took us about 2 months to get everything moved out of the house and into the site of the auction. One day, my mom, dad, and sister had to run to the auction site, and I really didn't want to go because I was overheated, and I wanted to sit and read my book that I brought with me. So, as soon as my family left, I sat down on the couch and opened my book, and also turned on music. As the music was going, I heard footsteps above me on the next floor. I tried to ignore it. About 30 minutes later, I was still reading and listening to music. The footsteps were back, only louder. I thought that someone had broken in. I honestly thought that was my grandfather's sister. I thought, shit, I have to check and see what the fuck is going on. So, I had a cell phone with 911 on the screen. As I was walking up the stairs, I saw my grandfather's bat and picked it up. I am slowly climbing up the stairs. I remember that we had the windows open upstairs because it's summer, which means it's hot and stuffy. So, I'm standing on the top of the stairs. I yelled out, "I don't know who the fuck you are, but you have 1 minute to get the fuck out of this house, or I will call the cops and beat you with this bat." As soon as I said that, all of a sudden a cold wind blew everything closed. I don't know what happened, but the next thing I remember, I was on the couch like I never left, and my mom's yelling at me. I don't know why, but as soon as I saw my mom, I started to cry, and she asked me if I saw them too. My blood went cold after that. I told her that I need to get out of the house, but I couldn't find my cell phone. I started to panic. My mom took me out of the house while my dad went to go find my cell phone. He found it at the top of the stairs with the bat, and the windows were open again. My dad came down with the cell and the bat. My mom asked, "Why is the bat up there?" I said, "Defense." Then Mom said, "Against what? A ghost? You're only gonna hurt yourself." After that, and up until the auction, I was never left alone again in that house. What's up, guys? Ghastly Ghoul here, and thank you so much for listening. If you liked the video, it'd be great if you would click the thumbs up button, comment, and share it with your friends. Please consider joining the Ghastly Gang by hitting that subscribe button. If you would like for me to narrate your scary story, please send it to my email address below, or post it on the Free Horror Stories subreddit. Also, please follow me on Twitter and like me on Facebook. That way you can keep up to date with what's happening on the channel. The links are below. And now, we must part ways, my friends. I fear you are living on borrowed time, for you'll never truly escape from the vault.